All right, good morning, everybody. It's Bob Herzan, president of ScaleLogic, and I'd like to thank you all for joining me today for just a quick little preview snapshot of some of the highlighted items we're going to be showing off at NAB. We've got a big group on the phone today, so everybody is muted. All attendees are muted right now. There is a place within your panel to ask any questions that you might have. You can always send an email to us as well if you get some questions that come up later. I'm going to try to keep this to 30 minutes so that you can get back to work. And again, not an in-depth presentation whatsoever. Just want to highlight on some of the key products that we'll be releasing at the show and allow you advantage to target key customers or come in and talk about specific things with us at the trade show. So let's get started. First off, just to give everybody an idea of what ScaleLogic is, who we are, what we do, and the culture that drives us on a day-to-day basis. It really can be sewn up in one big picture, one big graphic. We build storage solutions and add professional services on top of those solutions to drive workflows for media-centric applications. It's modular approach to the market where we can have conversations about storage, about servers, about media workflow and management, storage workflow and management, and tie that back to specific workflows in the industry. One of the biggest questions that our customers get is, how do you choose the right technology? There's tons of different types of storage out there. There's different types of file systems. There's primary storage, secondary storage. Now the cloud has become a big issue. There's workflow requirements based on applications that we have to deal with. And more we're monetizing our content, and we have to find the most efficient way to create that content for lots of different types of partners and viewers. And for our customers, this is the biggest problem because they're not, for the most part, they're not IT savvy. They are creative individuals looking to produce their content and present it out to the market. And that's where our team really comes into play. We've got over 30 years of industry knowledge, building networks, building storage solutions for the media and entertainment market. We've worked and developed multiple different types of software products that help to drive the efficiencies within the workflow. And then we've built in the necessary infrastructure to allow data protection for your very valuable assets. And besides all of that, we have to have services in place to take care of our customers day by day, week by week, hour by hour if need be. And so we've built that within the ecosystem of the company as well. So when a customer engages with ScaleLogic, you're engaging first at a consultative level. We want to talk to you about your budgets. We want to understand what the capacity requirements are today and in the future. We want to know how important that data is from an availability standpoint. And customers' workflow will have different requirements on availability. Primary storage needs to be high available, and secondary and tertiary storage can have longer lead times as far as recovering that media. Throughput speeds, access to the storage as it relates to individual users is extremely important, and understanding the workflow of these big data applications. And then finally, and just as important, is understanding the compatibility of how this networking or storage works with the various different applications that each of you find yourself using to get your job done, to get the creative work completed. So that's the value we bring to the market, to the customers, to our channel partners, and to our OEMs. Now I want to talk about some specific products that allow us to look at small work group environments, grow them into mid-tier working group environments, all the way up into the enterprise. So we're going to start with a product called Genesis Unlimited. And Genesis is a product that we introduced over a year ago. Matter of fact, I think it was a year ago at NAB that we released the Unlimited. It is years and years of development, evolution of product over time to get it to where it is today. And today, the Genesis Unlimited is a media-centric appliance, 2U, 3U, 4U appliance that's built to be a turnkey shared storage product for video and film workflows. It's a shared storage server that gives you connectivity, either fiber channel or gigabit connectivity. It gives you high performance for doing up to 4K workflows. It gives some very specific features that allow you to do tailored bandwidth and manage your bandwidth, which is a quality of service. And it has real-time latency enhancements. So let's talk about the basic configuration right off the bat. So small work group environment, could be an advertising company, it could be a small post-production, could be broadcast or sports related. And the Genesis just fits in with a high density of data, and then your connectivity can be decided on based on your workflow and your applications, your performance. So internal metadata controller runs our HyperFS file system, which allows you to hook up Mac clients, Windows clients, and Linux clients all to the back of the Unlimited. On the back side of the Unlimited, you can hook these up either through fiber channel, 8 or 16 gigabit fiber channel, or 110 or 40 gigabit Ethernet, or a combination of both, because the Unlimited is not just a SAN block level device. It's actually a block and file level device. So I can be running SAN protocol, fiber channel protocol, and talk to the storage, and I can be sending my LAN protocols into the same storage and sharing out both pipes. So here's a quick little picture showing that we've got Adobe and Pro Tools and Final Cut and Avid and all these different types of work engines sharing one piece of storage. And as the product or as the customer begins to grow, we can then add additional clients onto the back end of this. There'll be a limit of how many slots that we have to be fiber channel or gigabit connections. But once you hit that limit, then you can add switching to the Unlimited in order to create more client counts. But the client count is unlimited all the way up until you hit your bandwidth requirements. You got to keep an eye on your bandwidth requirements. So here's another version of it, multi-tier work group. I had a 288 terabyte 4U Genesis Unlimited controlling multiple clients. I needed to add more storage. I needed to add more clients to my environment. And in order to create more bandwidth, I added a second Genesis Unlimited. It's a little bit different version. This one doesn't have the internal metadata controller. So the addition of the initial Genesis Unlimited that I have is still the metadata controller running the second unit or the third unit. And I can just scale as need be, either for capacity or performance. This product has been very successful over the last year, and again, we sold it into post-production facilities, broadcast facilities, corporate facilities, and spending a lot of time in the sports market today working with sports facilities and refreshing their older legacy equipment that was probably put in anywhere from 3 to 7 years ago. And now their needs, their requirements for higher performance video capture, more media asset management associated to it, and then the ability to really look at the scale of the storage over the next several years as they move to UHD or 4K workflow environments. That becomes the main problem. How do I get a product that can grow in performance, scale in capacity, give us the reliability we need, and focus in on compatibility of all the different applications we're using? Minnesota Vikings was a great reference site for us that we put in a few months ago. We'll be touting more and more over the next month, getting ready for NAB. We went in with the Genesis Unlimited product. We put that in. I think about a half a petabyte worth of Genesis Unlimited was put in play. for their primary storage, and then the Genesis NX, which is a 1 or 10 gigabit NAS storage product, was used as their secondary storage. With the unlimited, we were allowed to put an archive agent on top of the SAN appliance as well, and then we were able to do two things for them with the NX. One was just doing a sync and syncing the data so that they had a complete second instance of the data if they ever needed to recover completely from one facility to another, and that was done remotely. And the other was an area for archive, where they actually wanted to remove from primary storage and put back onto disk for archive and leave it there for 6 to 9 months before they move it out to tape. So the heart and soul underneath the Unlimited is the file system. And HyperFS has been developed for over 10 years now. And it's probably one of the coolest file systems out there for media and entertainment. It's specifically built for the industry, and it's focused in on qualifications and certifications across a huge, broad group of application providers. And as you're running around the NAB floor this year, you're going to find HyperFS or ScaleLogix logos branded in most of the applications out there that are driving content creation. The important thing to note about HyperFS from a file system perspective is it's an enterprise class file system. And if I went back one here or two and showed you the Genesis Unlimited, well, you know, the Genesis Unlimited is a SAN appliance. It's not necessarily an enterprise class appliance. It's for small to mid-tier workflows. It doesn't have a lot of the high-end enterprise feature sets built into it that data centers might be looking for. But the file system does, and that's the most important thing I want to get across is when you look at a Genesis Unlimited, you're using an enterprise class file system in here. That particular file system is also being used with companies like Hitachi Data Systems and has been used with some of the biggest companies, biggest broadcasters in the world. Same file system, no difference in the code, no difference in the cost point of the product, but it's been implemented into the smaller Workgroup appliances. The next product I want to talk about is going to be a brand new product that is debuting at NAB. And it's taking all of what we did with the Genesis Unlimited. So in the Genesis Unlimited, you have very high performance RAID algorithm that's built in to do multiple different RAID levels, RAID 5, 6, 7. It also has things in there like the real-time initiator, real-time latency enhancements for zero impact rebuild, and it's got a new feature in there that is called Cosmic. And those of you that were familiar with the Unlimited or the Genesis RX product and our RAID algorithm know that we have QoS built into the system where you can go in and select by worldwide name or by client and associate them as a real-time client and give them performance priorities on the Genesis Unlimited or the RX, which is really cool, very simple to do, and simplifies the process for the editing base to make sure that the guaranteed performance is there. We took that a step further and actually built in some artificial intelligence into that feature set. And that's being debuted with the Unlimited, with the RX, and now with the new product Synergy, where it actually is auto-detecting the type of performance and algorithms being used per client, and then setting the bandwidth requirements accordingly to the needs of the particular client and handling that throughout the network connectivity. It's a really cool feature that we'll be hyping up pretty much at NAB for our customers. But the point here is Synergy, brand new product. It's using legacy, very well-defined RAID algorithm with the RX code that's in there. It's got internal metadata controller. It's using HyperFS as the file system. Where it starts to differentiate to the marketplace completely is that Synergy is not only a shared storage appliance that can handle the SAN and the LAN connectivity, but it also has built-in application server. So instead of having a separate HP or Dell or third-party server that you have to take external cabling and connect up to a switch to get it connected to your storage. The application server is built right into Synergy, allowing the application and the SAN complete connection without having additional cables or complexity. So we've been testing with various different MAMs and PAMs and transcoders and different types of workflow engines for the last 6 months, and having a huge amount of success in tying the application right to the SAN. So for our customers, it means simplicity of deployment, and a lot easier to manage on a day-to-day basis. It also drives the overall cost down and makes it more serviceable. So we're pretty excited about Synergy because it is a completely new way of deploying application and shared storage all into one appliance. We're giving you a nice little picture here that depicts the workflow. We've got our clients out here, and our clients can be either fiber channel clients, they could be iSCSI clients, or up here, they could be 110 or even 40 gig client connectivity to the back end. The internal application server could be running things like Telestream on there, Levels Beyond. It could be Empress MAM or various different MAM components, CatDV, Cantimo. There's a whole host of different applications we're working. That would be internal and wouldn't even show up at the external client level. Little picture of the back just shows you that you've got the dual redundant power supplies, and you've got all the connectivity that you would need for building a SAN in a box with application built in. The things that I covered in the Unlimited as far as being able to scale this product also are the same. So if we wanted to add capacity or add performance, we would just add an additional Synergy to this particular document. Now, one thing that we're seeing is, the complete workflow and data protection associated to the smaller or medium-sized customer. If you've got the budget and you're a bigger, large customer, you can afford to build in high availability and, multi-tiered storage. But for the smaller workgroup environments, smaller venues, mid-tier venues, lower budget constraints, being able to give them that same workflow experience and the same data protection for just a fraction of the cost is the goal. So as you can see from this document, we have Synergy that's connecting up our editing stations, various different connect points from fiber channel to gigabit Ethernet, all sharing one simple file system. And then we've got the ability to bring in the ingest feeds either through camera, internet, network to get the product ingested. Once we've done our editing and have been working through our editing and we want to move off to second tier, well, Synergy has an option on there for doing the archive. And it could be, again, a sync of the storage. It could be a complete archive of the storage. It could be a backup of portions of the storage. We have all various models of protecting your data built into that archive agent. And then you can pick your source, and your source could be a Genesis NX. It could be some other storage that you've got in-house. It could be storage that's not in-house and could be off-prem for more of a disaster recovery. That's your second tier disk, allowing you to have spinning disk as the archive. And then once you want to move to off the shelf or on the shelf, for that matter, then we would put a tape device down there and give you the ability to write to LTO 5, LTO 6, LTO 7, and use that as your long-term archive. Genesis HyperMDC, again, tied to HyperFS. Genesis HyperMDC is now going into your mid-tier all the way into your enterprise. So from mid-tier, what we're talking about is either a single MDC or a dual MDC with high availability aspects to it. This is an appliance set up to go in either in a brand new facility or it could go into an existing facility. I like to focus in on the existing facilities because our customers have been building out shared networks for 10, 15 years now. And there's several different file systems that are out there that are fairly closed in their architecture. And so when a customer looks to do an upgrade, if it's 3 years or 5 years or more down the line, they're normally looking at what we call, a complete overhaul. They have to pull everything out, start from fresh, do migration. And we try to simplify that process for a customer, depending again on the age of the storage and what he's trying to accomplish short term, long term from a performance standpoint. But we can take the HyperMDC product and we can set that in to your existing SAN network. And we can sit side by side, free up some storage so that we can repurpose the HyperFS file system to that cleared up storage. And then we can begin to migrate from, if it's an XSAN or Quantum StorNext SAN or some other file system out there, we can start to migrate that through either fiber channel or gigabit pipes and bring that into the new storage. Once we brought that into the new storage, we can clear up more storage, start to add more and more of that legacy storage in there, and support a complete conversion of just the file system and the brains of the file system, and not so much focused on the storage. With ScaleLogic and the HyperMDC, we've gone through lots of efforts in our interoperability lab to assure compatibility across lots of third-party storage. We've got purpose-built storage, we've got third-party storage that we support, and we've got enterprise products, again, like Hitachi Data Systems, HP, NetApp. All these products have been qualified within HyperFS as usable storage. And I think that's just a huge selling point. It's a huge buying point. It's a huge comfort point for customers to understand that storage is somewhat agnostic to the file system. Understanding the bandwidth capabilities of the storage is the most important thing. HyperFS is there to protect and give you collaboration capabilities out to fiber and gigabit connectivity. This shows you exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the brains of the operation. We've got two HyperFS IAP servers in there. We have the Genesis DX as the high availability metadata RAID. And this now is allowing one of these servers to fail over if one was to go down for some reason, keeping you at full uptime to your network. We've got fiber channel connectivity built into this, so I can be using fiber or iSCSI block level, high performance, UHD, 4K, 8K applications directly into that block storage. That block storage can be storage that we're providing you, or again, it could be storage you've already got implemented into your facility. We just work with our engineers to determine what that storage's capabilities are. HyperFS takes it another level, and it allows you to have the gateway computers also associated to that storage file system, and this is where you get the 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig backbone infrastructure talking to that single file system the same as the block level. So that's where HyperMDC fits. So going into an existing environment, say you had an XSAN or a Quantum StorNext environment, you're running 500 terabytes worth of storage, you want to move on to HyperFS, all this stays the same. Your client connectivity stays the same, your storage can stay the same. All we do is put in the HyperMDC, work with you on a migration plan, and start to get the migration without having any downtime per se to your environment while you're working through the migration. Give you another example of a recent customer win. Colgate out in the Northeast also was a customer that had this problem. They needed to move into a more high available, more scalable SAN. They were being held back through their other file system, which was it was a SAN management system, block level management system that was volume only and not file level. And they needed to migrate off of that, get to a file level workflow, and then build in the scalability of the storage. We were able to utilize existing infrastructure that they have, do the migration into the HyperMDC, and add additional storage in there for primary storage, and they use some of their old legacy storage as secondary storage. So perfect example of what I've been explaining. How can we help your company in other areas during the life cycle of our infrastructure? Big difference in how ScaleLogic presents itself to customers. Most storage manufacturers are out there trying to figure out the latest and greatest thing that they can sell and upgrade you to. And our approach is very different. Again, it's a consultative approach, and we've built such an ecosystem of support services and products in order to facilitate small, medium, and large customers that we're interested in a long-term partnership with our clients that can help them from the beginning stages, support them during their investment, and then even look at supporting them in other investments that they have. So case in point in that is we've got our media storage services that is set up to do third-party services on products like EMC, Isilon, NetApp, quantum hardware, so quantum metadata controllers, tape devices, and storage. And we can allow third-party services at the same level agreement that you're used to getting from those guys at about half the price, allowing you to save some money in year 4 and year 5 while you work on your migration program. And then once you figured out what your next generation is going to be, at that point, we can help you do that migration. If it's with our equipment or not, we can help you do the migration. And then we've got a capability to do the recycling for you and get back that old equipment out of there, give you some money back to help with the new deployment. So in our mind, what it means is when we talk to an end user customer, a channel partner, or an OEM or ISV, you're looking at a company that's built an ecosystem of products that's all driven on the quality of the product itself and the services that we provide. It's in our name from a scalability standpoint. The storage that you're buying is there to scale with you and go with your growth and give you the longest ROI available. And then the time and effort that we put into this market, the media and entertainment market, the different versions of the workflows, by investing engineering time and partnerships to certify the hardware, the software, the complete configurations and workflow against all the applications that our customers are going to use in the field. It's proven day in and day out with the certifications. This is just a small list. There's up somewhere between 75 to 100 different M&E related applications that have now gone through our lab and been tested across multiple products and software. The customers are what speaks for the success of ScaleLogic as we move forward. Big names, small names, in-between type companies, all different types of workflows, all driving media on a day-to-day basis. We are at NAB in force. We've got a booth right in the south lower hall, SL 2425, supporting the studio experience and the workflow in the studio experience. You'll be able to see everything that I talked about today, plus a whole bunch of other things that I didn't talk about. We also have a private suite in the Renaissance that many people have signed up to go and get private demos at, and we'll be supporting several booths out on the show floor. So I am looking forward to NAB more so this year than every year. I think I say that every year, but every year's evolution, we're getting better and better at what we do and more to offer for our customer base. So I'd like to just take a moment right now to take a look and see if there are any questions. Like I mentioned, there is a place to go in and put in your questions. So feel free to add questions right now and let me know if there's anything I can answer. There we go. So question number 1 is, pull that back up. Question number 1 is, what type of storage is certified by HyperFS? So that is a question based on saying that we're an open architecture and that we work with a lot of different types of third-party storage and enterprise storage. So I don't think there's anything out there that we haven't tested. We know what the various different storage modules can do. So I know of things like Nexan and Dot Hill, Infratren and Promise. Those are some of the third parties that we'll see out there a little bit in legacy media environments. All of those are covered without a problem. Enterprise level, Hitachi Data Systems, probably one of the biggest ones that we've been seeing out in the M&E market that we use, but also HP and NetApp have also been qualified across HyperFS. If I started with the Genesis Unlimited and wanted to build it into a larger SAN, can I do that? That's an awesome question and feeds into the scalability of what we do in our product line. So take the Unlimited, the picture that I had showed you a little while ago, and I can just pop right to that. So if you took that Unlimited and you decided that, oh, I need much bigger system now, I'm going to add a whole bunch of clients, different level of workflow, my data has become all that much more important, so I got to make sure that my uptime is there and I have the high availability built into it. What we would do is the back of the Genesis Unlimited or the Synergy appliance have internal metadata controllers. And that internal metadata controller with HyperFS is where the metadata is. So all we would have to do is simply migrate that to an external Genesis IAP server or some other type of qualified metadata server and migrate that metadata there. Don't have to worry about the data. It's unintrusive, so the data stays the same. All we're doing is migrating the metadata to an external metadata controller or a high availability HyperMDC metadata controller, and we're up and running. That storage is now provisioned, it's working, it's got the same data on it, and from there we look at, switch, if we want our switches to be high available, we would put multiple switches in there. Do we want our storage to have high availability built into it? We would look at the areas there that we'd have to do. But everything is scalable without having to back up your data, archive your data, wipe your file system, or change out costly infrastructure that you already invested into. I have a quantum solution, one of my favorite questions. I've got a quantum solution today. How do I migrate to HyperFS? And I would preference this one. I don't care if it's quantum or XSAN or anything as far as that's concerned. You've got a system in there. You've got a 250 terabytes worth of storage. You've got a metadata controller in place. You've got your clients in there. And all we would do is take the HyperMDC or even the HyperMDC 100, the single metadata controller, and put that in your facility, hook it up to your switched infrastructure, free up that storage that or add some more storage, put some new storage in, so we can create a new file system that's a HyperFS file system. And once we've got that in play, we'll be able to just migrate from the one mounted SAN over to the next mounted SAN. Start to move your content over there, and then you can run multiple clients on your workstation. So if you've got Avids or Adobes or Final Cuts, and you've got fiber channel ports available in there, you can be running HyperFS client as well as StorNext or XSAN client right on there and be able to see both storage devices. So it's a pretty easy process and one that we've been doing quite a bit. Let's see here. That seems to be it as far as I can see for questions. So I appreciate everybody. We had a big showing today, so that was great. We look forward to all of those that are going to make it down to NAB, seeing you at the booth and seeing you around the different events at the show. If you have any other questions that come up, feel free to email us directly. I will take this PowerPoint here and our webinar today and send out a recorded version that you can share with the rest of your peers. Thank you very much. Have a great day.